Welcome back to the Impact 1 Million podcast, From Success to Significance. I'm your host, Shar Moore. Today we're joined by Jason Franklin. As co-founder and principal of Sportiqe, Jason Franklin has more than 2 decades of experience designing, creating and manufacturing modern American comfort wear for nationally recognised brands, along with leading Sportiqe's multi-million-dollar sales and business development. In 2006, Franklin co-founded Sportiqe, a global lifestyle apparel company that is committed to delivering elevated basics using high-quality fabrics, innovative designs, and on-trend fit that not only look and feel good, but provide superior comfort no matter the occasion. Early on, the company was catapulted to the national stage after landing major wholesale deals with the NBA and the Dave Matthews Band, which spurred the brand's massive growth. Sportiqe was among the first apparel companies to bridge the gap between the fan and fashion world. Jason, welcome to our show today.
Thanks, Shar. Appreciate you having me.
What an amazing story and journey. And I guess like everyone listening today, we'd love to know how this all started.
This started as a young child, as a dream that I had. As an 11-year-old kid growing up in Chicago, I got very lucky. My dad had season tickets the rookie year, the first year of a gentleman by the name of Michael Jordan, who I assume you might have heard of, played for the Chicago Bulls. And I started getting this opportunity to go to the Bulls games, and I wanted cool Chicago Bulls product. And my grandmother was a clothing designer. My great-grandmother was a clothing designer. And I desperately wanted something very cool Chicago Bulls. And really, I'd go to the shop in the stadium, and there was uncomfortable, like really boxy T-shirts and a jersey and a hat that didn't fit. And it was really sort of, it looked like it was just an afterthought, like, oh crap, we probably need to sell some clothes here. And they just put some stuff out there on a shelf, and there was nothing for me to buy. And I went home and started drawing baseball hats of what I thought would be cool for that kids my age might want to have, and started drawing them. And my sister happened to be babysitting the neighbors one night. She got sick. My mom sent me over there and said, go let your sister come home and you go finish up. The kids are sleeping. It's okay. And so I went over there, and there's hats all through the house, sports hats. And I was just like, what's going on? Like the parents come home. I got to ask you what's going on here. And the gentleman said, well, I own a baseball cap company, and we produce headwear for major sports leagues. I was just like, whoa, things happen for a reason, I guess. Right. And so I said, this might sound crazy, but do you mind if I run home and go, brings over some of the designs that I've done? And he's like, okay, sure, kid. Like, go ahead. Just I'll appease the neighbor. Right. So run home, run back, show him all these designs. He's like, well, actually, there's a couple of these that are pretty cool. Would you mind if I would potentially make some? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to. Fast forward, one thing leads to another. Some of the hats that I had designed, he actually was able to sell, and then started getting some traction, so much so where a gentleman, you might have heard of him. He is a gentleman by the name of Tupac Shakur. Did a movie with a lady by the name of Janet Jackson, who you might have heard of, a movie called Poetic Justice. Within the first scene of the movie, there is Tupac wearing the first hat that I ever drew. So again, another sign. I ended up working for this baseball cap company at a very young age. I mean, literally like a scene out of the movie with Tom Hanks and Big. Like I was there as a little junior high kid, then a high school kid after school. And I was just, helping with designs and helping with hat fits and different things like that. And then actually started traveling to some of the bigger trade shows of the year, because the owner of the company, in his infinite wisdom, was like, what would be really cool is if you were the one actually selling the hats to these stores like Foot Locker and Champs and the New York Yankees, and because you're their target market. So if you're in the meeting showing them a hat and be like, I made this, this is why you should buy it. It's really cool. The kids in my age group want to buy this. So I started doing that. started doing very well. But what I realized was in order to hit my goals as an entrepreneur, I was hitting a glass ceiling. It was a family-owned business, and I wasn't as close as I was to the family. I wasn't part of the family. Also, I started realizing that there was more out there that on the apparel side. I wanted to do different apparel things, and I was just interested in all my travels. I was always trying to go find the must-go, must-do thing in whatever city it was, whether it was a brewery tour or it was a museum or it was a company headquarters. I always wanted to go do the tour, check it out, or maybe it was a really cool restaurant or music festival or some sort of iconic music venue. And I was going to check out all of these venues. And one of the things I realized was there was this displaced customer. Not only were they going to maybe a basketball game, but they might have been going to the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee to go see a music experience. And they wanted something more that fit right, that had the right fabric, the right feel, that had that more boutique department store look. And they weren't able to get it. And here these people were spending tens of thousands of dollars in some cases to buy the ticket to the event, to buy the flights, to buy to get the hotels, the meals, all that stuff. And they were willing to spend the money if there was something cool to buy. So I met my partner, Matt, through some friends of ours, and told him this vision that I had. And he said, let's do this. So 17 years, about 19 years in starting, and then 17 years officially, we started Sportiqe. So we went to the NBA and said, this is the vision of what we have. And, we understand people are spending hundreds of dollars on tickets, thousands of dollars on tickets. And you have a fan that would be interested in this. And they said, sight unseen, we know you two, and here's a license, which now in this day and age is unheard of. And that same weekend, we went to a band, one of my favorite bands, near and dear to my heart, a group called the Dave Matthews Band, who had an incredibly passionate fan base who tours every summer like clockwork. And they have fans that fly in from all over the world to come see them in different parts of their tour every summer. And that same fan base was like, oh, yes, we would buy a nicer sweatshirt and a nicer hat. And we're currently selling, they said, we're selling $20 t-shirts and $15 hats and $40 hoodies. They're like, if you can help us increase our retails, we'd be very interested. We said we could do that. And we were able to do that. So, fast forward now, 17 years later, Sportiqe is in pretty much every fan vertical you can think of. And what I mean by that is whatever you could possibly talk to you and I could walk up and down Times Square and talk to different people and be like, what are you passionate about? And somebody might be, I'm passionate about the automotive industry. Great. We work with Mercedes-Benz and Jeep. So if you go to the Mercedes-Benz headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US headquarters, you would find the Sportiqe Mercedes-Benz product. Somebody might be, okay, I like to fix things. So I'm a huge Home Depot fan. So at the company headquarters of Home Depot and on their company web store, there's a Sportiqe Home Depot product. Or FedEx, like people, who's shipping product, or the NBA, or hockey, or maybe they're into gambling. Maybe they want to go to the Wynn Casino in Las Vegas, or they're into playing poker. We do the gear for World Series of Poker. Or maybe they're a gaming fan and they love playing Nintendo. They love Super Mario, which is very on trend because of the movie that's out right now. If you go to the Nintendo headquarters, you go to the Nintendo World Store in New York City in Rockefeller Plaza, there's our product there. So it's endless about who we work with. And that's what I love so much, is just listening to how passionate people are about whatever it is, and then getting a chance to give them that favorite garment that they keep in their closet forever and ever and ever. They might only go to that venue one time in their life, but they have that. We are a historian of, if you will, of that special memory that they have, because that garment is the Sportiqe garment that they have forever.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. What a story. I know friends listening are probably like, wow, everything's gone. It's trusting that intuition. And thank gosh your sister got sick, right? Because
right.
you owe her a box of chocolates.
Right.
It's that synchronicity and the fact that they were your neighbor. I mean, that's just amazing. You were 12 years old and you came home with your friends and watched TV, and you saw someone wearing your hat on TV. be. Tell us about that moment and who that person was. What did that feel?
Yeah, so sure. I mean, the very popular at that time was a show on MTV called Total Request Live, and there really it turned into, it was who's who in the rapper world, of whether it was 50 Cent or Jay-Z, or I mean it was endless, Fabulous, or whoever it was. You couldn't find them you could find them in a music video or on or performing in a concert or whatever, and they would be in one of the hats that I designed. So that it was one of those things, no matter how rough the day was or whatever, like that always was in the back of my mind, like, okay, like you're doing something right, because if these type of people, they're giving you signs on the TV right now, keep going, young man, like you're following your passion, and you're going on the right path.
And that's amazing, Jason, because you were only 12. Like most of us just, would have been passionate about things, but never had that level of success so early. So another thing I'd like to dive into, Jason, is because, when we're in business and you've grown at such amazing knots in the last 19 years, I'm sure there's a lot of things that haven't gone to plan as well. And I think that's really important as entrepreneurs and leaders in our industries to talk about that, because friends that are listening today, they could be some that are struggling and they're not sure how to pick up again, how to keep going. You've got to have your why, your passion, your purpose, which you have in spades. But when the chips are down, when a deal's gone wrong, when something didn't go to plan and orders turned up wrong, something like that, can you share one or two of those moments to give some inspiration to our friends today, please?
Sure, of course. Well, I can share one of the biggest ones that I think that we all experienced. One of the things that we just talked about was really priding ourselves on Sportiqe being at the must go, must do thing of a live event. Now, you might know where I'm going with this is, one of the things that Sportiqe did in 2019 was we built this beautiful 35,000 square foot production facility, because that was one of the things that we wanted to do, was speed to market. So not only would a client be able to sell out of something, they'd be able to get right back into it very quickly. So whether it was a playoff game or a band was on tour, or maybe a huge summer sales season for one of our clients, we could get them right back into the product. So we built this production facility in December 2019. And you might know where I'm going with this, but the world came to a stop in March of 2020. So we had a major moment at that point where it's okay, we've been focusing the past 15 years of the time, like, of really priding ourselves on the must go, must do thing. And now what do? We built this huge production facility. Now there's no live events. It's not happening. And so now we have all this inventory, and blank inventory, and and a beautiful production facility with all this equipment, and now no one wants to buy anything. So we had to pivot. We started producing face covers, and we started working with some of our clients, the NBA or a band or whoever it was that needed, or one of our companies that we work with that needed face covers. So we started doing that. But then the beautiful thing with our clients is we figured out ways, and there was just, in the beginning, there was nothing going on. It was just like, we were just talking to our clients and staying connected to our clients and just sharing recipes about food we were cooking, and just to keep the lines of communication open, just as human beings, and continuing that interaction was critical, and to keep the friendships and the relationships that we built for 15 years going. But we said, okay, we're going to figure out how to make a positive out of this. And one of the things is how can we work with our clients to better help grow their online business? And that was a thing that had been forgotten about with so many of our clients, because the majority of our clients rely on people coming to the respective venue. And so it really allowed us to take a different approach with our clients and be like, okay, like, let's really focus on growing your web business, because that's where we know you have XYZ customer, you have an international fan base, and they want to still buy product from you in their home, and they want to do something. So how do we get them excited about a new drop? Maybe it's a limited edition hoodie. Maybe it's a special celebrity design piece or something like that. So really getting creative with the clients, and then figuring out ways to shoot it and talk about it, whether it was a Zoom call with their top clients or whoever it was. And so we figured out a way to pivot and grow our clients' web businesses and ours too, for that matter. And we came out even stronger. And not only that, but a lot of our competition shut down. They completely furloughed everyone, and everyone shut down. So once other clients that we didn't even have at the time realized that we were the only ones that were open, that we had a production facility, because most of our clients produce everything in China. So they had nothing on the shelves. Their product was stuck in a port somewhere. And once fans started coming back in even limited capacities, they wanted to buy everything and anything. And we were the only game in town with this beautiful production facility that could provide products. So we had random people calling us like, wait a minute, you're a live person? We're like, yes, we're live. They're like, you just responded to an email? Yes, we're live. Great. Check that box. Check. You have blank product in stock that you can produce for us right now? Check that box. Yes. They're like, here's our orders. Please take it. And so it ended up being a catalyst to huge growth for us. So we definitely spun that negative into a positive.
I'll say, oh my gosh, what a pivot though. You know, so many people with live events were like, oh my gosh, and a lot of speakers that I know that were on the speaker circuit, they're all getting these messages while they're standing at a conference, and all these bookings are just cancel. And so it was a time of really looking back and seeing who pivoted, and the ones that didn't, as you say, are no longer here. You know, they didn't find another way. They could have, you know, used your facility to produce and taken a lesser margin to ride the wave. They could have done something like that, but, you know, thankfully for you, they didn't. You talk a lot about how kindness can be infectious. I'd love to dive into, you know, what your thoughts are around that, because I feel like during the pandemic, a lot of people did suffer, and, you know, personally, relationships, business, work, everything. And I found it was quite horrible on Facebook, you know, and social media platforms, people being really nasty with people's personal choices. Whatever your choices are should be yours and yours alone. And I found that it was really not nice at times with people speaking to others about, you know, their thoughts. But kindness can become infectious. But what are your thoughts around that, Jason?
Well, in the beginning, when we started Sportiqe, we wanted people to be their most comfortable self, because if we believe that if they're their most comfortable selves, they can be their best selves. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the things that we sort of, yes, I completely agree with you on kindness, but we sort of took it from the approach of how can we stay true to our to some of the pillars that, you know, stand for Sportiqe, and how do we you know, get that word out there. And so many brands pivoted, oh, we make comfort product too, and we do that too during the pandemic. We're like, do you really? Because you make workwear, and now you're saying you make comfort wear for home. Like, I don't know, but anyway, so what we did was we really pushed people, and me personally, like, what is going to, in an incredibly uncomfortable situation, what's going to make you comfortable that day? And talking to as many people as we did, whether it was Zoom calls and Google Meets, sending out tons of product to people like, hey, I know you're home today, put on this Olsen hoodie and just, you know, one of our comfy t-shirts, and just put this on, and it's going to allow you to just, you know, have a better day. And I think that was one of and, you know, we did a t-shirt that we donated all of the proceeds we called Together We Win on our comfy t-shirt. And, you know, all first line responders, they were able to get one for free. And then, you know, all the money that we got from it, we just donated to the first responders. And I think that was, I agree with you. Social media was a disaster. I just wanted to, I mean, and I wanted to just completely walk away from that in general, but we tried to keep it as positive as we could. But I think one of the things for me was trying to keep it as neutral as possible, because there was so many things happening and so much information coming in regards to, oh, there's a vaccine maybe. And I realized, like, if I would go too low, that was not going to benefit me. But I also realized that if I went too high and was like, oh, there's a vaccine coming and everything's going to be fine and better next month, and it really wasn't, then I would go even lower. So, like, and that's very easy to say, but it's another thing to actually do. And I struggled with it as much as anyone else. But I think that was one of the key things that I tried to do, was try to stay as neutral as possible during some of those the crazy 2 years we all experienced.
Yeah, it was definitely something for the history books, that's for sure. Look, Jason, what you've created and what you've done, a lot of it has been intuition, trust, gumption, seizing opportunity, and really putting yourself out there. And, we're a media brand, essentially. So with magazines, books, and a TV show. And there's a book we're working on at the moment, which is going to gather 100 exceptional entrepreneurs from around the world and put them into a coffee table book, because we'd love to like, if we could actually boil the essence of great people and get their absolute key turning points, their defining moments, their biggest lessons, their biggest failures, which is the same thing, I guess. But the mindset that they used when opportunities presented themselves, what courage it took them to say yes to things they didn't know the outcome of. And that's a big thing that scares people. And I feel if we can produce it into a beautifully illustrated coffee table book, something that will sit in large corporations and coffee tables of entrepreneurs around the world, we can start to impact, this 1 million people is our goal. 100 people impacting 10,000 people in their own world equals 1 million. So if we get the right 100, that's a goal that we can see possible. And we want people to remember the moment. And it's ironic that you're on this show, because I have been talking with the team around what can we get them, comfort wear, jerseys, t-shirts, hats, something where they sit there and go, I stood in Times Square with 99 other exceptional human beings from around the world as we paused and watched that book up on the billboards, and we realized this was a moment in time that we're impacting 1 million lives. And so I love the brand you've created and the memorabilia piece, I guess, where you buy something, it's a moment. I know there's articles of clothing I've bought when I've been in Italy, and I still treasure them in my wardrobe, right? And I look at them and I remember not just the jacket I bought, but the time, the coffee I drank when I was there, the moment, the pigeon that flew down. It's all of those things. And so you've encapsulated all of that in Sportiqe, which is brilliant. What's next for the company? What's coming up next?
I think we continue to grow into different verticals. I mean, that's the beautiful thing in my travels and getting a chance to speak to so many different people, is there's so many different passions that people have that I'm like, geez, I didn't even think about, like, I didn't even know, like, for instance, the comic book world. I knew there were people that are passionate about it, but we got a phone call from one of our clients that said, hey, we're now handling all the merchandise for WonderCon and Comic-Con. And I'm just like, okay, like, sounds great. That's a huge passion fan base. So, like, it seems like it's every week there's something new that pops up at Sportiqe, and the brand continues to get out there. I think there's the soccer world is something that or football, as some people call it. I think that's something that I'm very interested in, and there's a huge passionate fan base. We work with some of obviously the NBA and hockey, and we do now some baseball and a little football, but football American. But now I think, soccer / football is another area of growth that we want to tackle, and there's an international growth, I think, as well. As the NBA has now opened up stores in London and Paris and Berlin and Sydney and Melbourne. They're continuing to expand more doors as well, and they were one of our first partners, so you'll continue to start seeing that growth with Sportiqe in some of those stores. But really, we make awesome product, but now how are we showing it in the store? And I think that's the next evolution that we're starting to put together, is really now bringing that boutique department store look and feel and shopping experience within that fan event space. For years, it used to just be like, oh, let's just throw out some racks and put some hangers up, or just throw it out there and people will buy it. But now they want to have a more an elevated experience shopping in wherever venue they are, even if it is a fan event. So we're starting to build some of those. We built one in Phoenix for the Phoenix Suns, an NBA team, the Atlanta Hawks, an NBA team, the Utah Jazz. So we started with the NBA, but now we're going to start working outside of the NBA and really starting to build some of these fixtures, some of these spaces that are just elevated, and it's like moths to a flame. People are like, okay, now I understand why this is the elevated product area of this respective store. So there's that. And then it's growing the brand and growing the website, because there's so many people that I'll have conversations with and meetings with where it'll be like, I have the most amazing Grand Ole Opry sweatshirt in my closet. I've never heard of Sportiqe before. I'm like, do me a favor, when you go home tonight, look at the inside of the back neck of that, or look and you see a little red woven label at the bottom of that. And they're like, funny enough, I went home that night and sure enough, it was Sportiqe. You're right. And we hear that so much. So now it's like, how are we connecting the dots for the people that we sold millions and millions of pieces of hoodies and t-shirts at this point? It's like, but people might not have heard of the brand. But now how are we connecting the dots? Like, hey, your favorite t-shirt or favorite hoodie in your closet is probably Sportiqe. Now come check us out. You can buy something without maybe your favorite team on it and just buy a blank garment or something that says Sportiqe. So starting to bring some of those people, the millions of people that have bought our product with their favorite brand, team, whatever it is, and now bringing them to Sportiqe.com.
I love that. I love that. And that was my last question, is where people can find you. So Sportiqe.com, and we will share that in the notes. And Jason, if you had any final words for our listeners and friends today around, the passion to keep going, what would you say as we wrap up today, Jason?
I think, I talk to young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general quite a bit. And one of the things that I tell them all the time is find what you're passionate about. Find what you're truly passionate about. Because if you're truly passionate about what you're doing, it's going to work out for you. And it's not going to be easy necessarily. You're going to find all sorts of roadblocks that we talked about, but it's not work at that point. You're getting a chance to make clothes for some of the favorite things that I love it's hard some days, but I love it because I'm passionate about it. So that's what I talk to people that are whatever age it is. Like there's usually one or two or three things that you might be really good at, that you might be really passionate about, and figure out a way to start working in that business somehow, some way. It might not be the president of the company right away. Okay, understand, but just start somewhere. Get your foot in the door, because eventually your passion of that whatever it is going to shine to other people, and you will be able to continue to grow personally and professionally.
I love that advice. Jason, thank you so much for being on our show today. I know everyone's taken lots of notes like I have, but really appreciate your time, and good luck with Sportiqe. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Shar. Appreciate your time too. Take care. Thank you.